Let's just start with North Carolina and Duke. And we need to start throwing Caleb Wilson in these conversations with the other three. And I'm talking about AJ DeBansa, Darren Peterson, and Cameron Boozer. Because in 2 games this year, head to head, UNC against Kansas, when Darren Peterson was playing, Caleb Wilson was the best player on the floor. For the second time against the projected top 3 pick, Duke UNC, Caleb Wilson was the best player on the floor. And frankly, this was more impressive than what he did against Kansas because Boozer couldn't guard him. He just couldn't guard him. He offers so much more than any of the other top 3, 4 prospects on the boards, attacking the glass, and defensively. Not to mention, if he can develop his ball handling skills, if he can develop his bag, get in the gym, become a better shooter. He did hit a 3 from the top of the key, but then he also had an atrocious take from the corner. There's obviously inconsistencies in his shooting ability, but if he gets in the gym and develops a shot, I think Caleb Wilson has the highest ceiling out of all of these guys because he's an athletic freak and he lives for the moment. He wants the smoke. He wanted all the smoke with Duke and Cam Boozer. He wanted all the smoke against Kansas and Darren Peterson. And when we look back at this UNC Tar Heel season, they were down by like 15 against Virginia almost a month ago on Saturday. They were down. When we look back at this North Carolina season, if they do something miraculous here, which it's looking like they might be able to do, they've rattled off a few really, really impressive wins. They beat Kansas. They beat Duke. They beat Virginia. Those are 3 teams that are going to be top 4 or 5 seeds. 2 of them might be top 2 seeds in Duke and Kansas. When we look back at this UNC season, where the tide turned for the Tar Heels was with 1:30 to go in UVA against Virginia. They hit 2 threes to go in to halftime. They come out and they run Virginia off the court. And then here they are against a Duke team that has looked unstoppable for the last month and a half, 2 months of the season. Duke's leading the entire game. Caleb Wilson did look like the best player on the floor this entire game. Keep that in mind. Cam Boozer didn't have an answer for him defensively. But overall, Duke was outplaying Carolina. Every time Carolina had an answer, Duke had an even bigger response until, with about a few minutes to go in the second half in this game, they're down 6. They hit a 3 to cut it in half. They get a stop. They hit the game winner. And it's just unbelievable how this Tar Heel team, who looked like after they lost to Stanford and Cal on the road, it looked like they were done for. They beat Virginia. They get back in the win column. They've rattled off 5 straight, 2 against 2 top 15 teams, 1 win against the top 5 team. Go back to that Virginia game going into the halftime. That's when the tide of this North Carolina season changed. They are a real problem. As far as Duke goes, it was just one of those games, man. Like they're gonna come back to Cameron Indoor. They're gonna get that. They're gonna win that game. These two are gonna split. I think Duke is a better team. But Caleb Wilson just won't be denied. And shout out Henry Visar. I hope that's how you say his name. He was incredible in the second half. If he doesn't come out in the second half and put up, how many did he score? Because I don't think he scored in the first half. Let me get the box score in front of me. He had 13. I'm pretty sure all 13 of those points came in the second half. If that doesn't happen, if he doesn't come out and get to the low block and start attacking on the interior, UNC doesn't win this game. And they're a real problem, man, whether it's Caleb Wilson in the post or Henry Visar. Like they got 2 bigs, and it's always the Twin Towers down there in North Carolina. Even back with Roy Williams, when it was Garrison Brooks, Kennedy Meeks, whoever it was, they had a million big guys. Armando Bacot, like they had guys. They always had bigs. And I wouldn't say these two are like the traditional bigs in the sense of Garrison Brooks and Kennedy Meeks were. They're a little bit more athletic. They're a little bit more mobile. At least Caleb Wilson obviously is. But man, North Carolina and having athletic bigs or 2 guys down low that can just dominate, it's just a staple, man. And they finally got a lot of 3-point shooting in this game as well. It was just awesome, man. It was really an awesome finish. It was so intense. Obviously, Trimble hitting that 3 to ice it. Pure cinema. 4 seconds on the clock, 0.4 seconds on the clock. Had to get everybody off the field. It's just next level stuff. North Carolina is a real problem. I also think Duke's a real problem as well. I wouldn't be surprised if these two see each other again in March. I wouldn't be surprised if they see each other again 2 times. Once in the ACC tournament and then once in the national in the NCAAs, because these 2 teams are legit. Caleb Wilson is a stud, And these top four picks, man, I think Darren Peterson's one, but then 2 through 4, I keep rearranging the rankings in my mind. Like it was Boozer was easily 2 a week ago, but then Caleb Wilson outplayed Cam Boozer. And not that Cam Boozer had a bad game, but just he didn't have an answer for Caleb Wilson defensively. And I think of Caleb Wilson's ceiling, it's ridiculous. It really is. I think he has the highest ceiling in this draft class, and I'm going to stay bullish on that take until I'm proven otherwise. Because head to head against Aaron Peterson, he was the better play. He was the better player. His team won. Head to head against Cam Boozer, he was the better player. His team won. He offers more defensively and on the glass than anybody does. He's the best post player in this draft class, including Cam Boozer, and he hasn't even scratched the surface of what he could be as an offensive player. And AJ DeBances, I think, besides Darren, I think Darren's the best right now. AJ DeBances is probably the second best pure offensive player, but when his shot's not falling, how else can he impact the game? And it's not to the level that Caleb can. Caleb is also just way more consistent 20, 25, 23, 24 on a night in, night out basis. And you're not getting that consistency out of AJ, who, in my opinion, played his best game of the year against Houston tonight. He just didn't get any help from Richie Saunders, and they couldn't get a rebound in the second half defensively to close out a defensive possession. I think it was kind of an impressive defensive performance from BYU, but then they weren't closing on the glass, like they weren't finishing out defensive possessions. So I guess it wasn't. But in terms of forcing tough shots, forcing misses, making Houston lag in their half court offense, and Houston has one of the best half court offenses in the not in the NBA in the country. They were making them take bad shots or shots that they necessarily wouldn't want to take if their offense was running at full capacity on all cylinders, but then they just weren't closing out defensive possessions. So I guess we can swing it over to that game now. And I think this was even though BYU lost to Houston, I think that was the best game I've seen AJ DeBanca play all season because it was against one of the best defenses in the NFL. I don't have his numbers in front of me. I think he had like 26, 27 every time Houston started to really pull away. AJ DeBanca was there to make the right pass or to hit a three or to just get to his spots. And he's such a fluid, effortless scorer. He gets to the line at will. He attacks downhill. And this was I don't know if this was, I think he had like 4 assists. So it wasn't his highest assist total, but this was the best I've seen AJ DeBanca as a playmaker in terms of he's not thinking twice about where to go with the basketball. And we've seen him do that before. Obviously, teams like to clog the lane when AJ gets going downhill because he gets to the line so much. And I feel like he has kicked, he has found the open man, but tonight against one of the best defenses in the country, it just felt so fluid. And he was more locked in on the defensive side than any game I've seen him so far this year. So this was the most impressive performance for AJ. In my opinion, he was cooking offensively as well. But Kingston Flemings is just a real problem, man. I think Houston, top 4 team in the country in my eyes. I think it's Houston, Michigan, Arizona, a healthy Kansas team. That's how I look at it right now. UConn's really good. Nebraska's still really good. Illinois is really good as well, and we'll get into them momentarily. But Houston now has the offensive firepower. I wouldn't say that they didn't have, but whether it's Uzan Sharp or Kingston Flemings, I think is the X factor this year. And this is a Houston team that has veterans that have made long runs in March before, and that matters. Like Emmanuel Sharp's experience is going to matter once you get into the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight, and obviously they're the best defensive team in the country. So if you honestly gun to my head right now, I'm picking Houston to win the national championship. I just think they're the most well-rounded team, and Kingston Flemings wasn't even the highest rated recruit, freshman recruit that's on this team. And the other one started to cook tonight. The more he gets comfortable, this Houston team, I think, is the best in the country. They're a real problem. BYU, on the other hand, they still haven't beat a good team. Let me look at their schedule. But they lost to Texas Tech. They got smoked by Texas Tech. They were getting blown out by Kansas in the first half, and then Darren Peterson didn't play in the second half. They lost to Arizona, and the score looks close, but Arizona dominated the entire second half. It was just some officiating malpractice down the stretch. They have Arizona again. They have Iowa State. Those will be some real tests. They have Texas Tech again, but they haven't had any real good wins. I guess like they beat Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin's a good team. Clemson's a good team, but no real elite games. No real statement W's on the resume yet for BYU. And considering they just lost 4 straight One of them was at an Oklahoma State team that's on the bubble, and they lost to the 4 best teams in the conference. Or unless you want to say Iowa State's better than Kansas, I don't think so. I think Tech, Kansas, Houston, and Arizona are the 4 best teams in the Big 12. But if you want to throw Iowa State in there, I'm not going to be mad at you. But they just lost 4 of their last 5 to the 4 best teams in the Big 12, and they got dominated in pretty much all of those games. I don't think Houston dominated, but it was 10. They won by 10. They never really had a shot with 2 minutes to go. They cut it to 5 because of an AJ DeBanza 3, but then nobody else was really making shots at a good enough level, and DeBanza was playmaking. And they just, again, like I said earlier, they just weren't attacking the glass defensively. So many second chance points for Houston, and that was ultimately the difference. They drained like 3 minutes of clock from just second chance points in the last 10 minutes of that game. It's ridiculous. We'll see though, man. They had Arizona, Iowa State. UCF's no slouch either, but this Houston team just absolutely ran UCF out of their own gym. And UCF was a team that I was very high on. And Tamus Folks, who's their guard, that I thought, okay, this guy's the real deal. Kingston Fleming's locked him the fuck up, bro. It was like Kingston Fleming's an elite scorer, elite first step, can get to the cup, can shoot the 3, can do the pull-up midi, good handle, but he's also a dog defensively, and you need to be if you're going to be a guard for Kelvin Sampson. Houston, I think, is my listen, I watch more Big 12 than anything. So I'm going to be a little bit more biased. I definitely have watched Houston more than I've watched UConn or Michigan. I've watched a good amount of Arizona. The Houston and Arizona are too. Maybe I think I might be a little bit biased. I think I'm really biased to the Big 12 because I just think I don't know. I think I'm biased. Unless the Big 12 could also just be that good where I think Kansas, Arizona, Houston, Michigan are the 4 best teams in the country. Is that Big 12 bias? That might be Big 12 bias. I don't know. UConn just lost to St. John's. St. John's is a good team. They turn the ball over a lot. The Big East is kind of a joke this year. UConn's a hard team to gauge. I'm pretty sure they beat Florida earlier in the year. They did beat BYU, but all the good teams are beating up on BYU. So I don't know how to feel about them. I don't think BYU should be ranked. I really don't. They haven't. Their best wins Wisconsin, Clemson. Let me look at UConn's schedule. Refresh my memory here a little bit. I know they almost Villanova's a team that can't be slept on. They beat Georgetown today in Georgetown. I remember Villanova played UConn really, really tight. Let's see. They lost to Arizona. They beat Kansas. Well, how many minutes did DP play in that game? They beat Florida. That's a good win, but then they get into Big East play, and it's like I'm not that moved. Solo Ball's a nice player. UConn's been dealing with injuries too. I don't want to count out UConn, but it's just I haven't watched them as much as I've watched these Big 12 teams, so I'm definitely a little bit biased. And another team that I think is really, really legit, man, is Illinois. Was the fact that Illinois forced overtime in Lansing against Michigan State, a top 10 team in the country, and Wagler was like 1 for 15 from the field, just tells you everything you need to know about how dangerous that Illinois team is. I think they have the best offense in the country because when your best player in Keaton Wagler can go 1 for 15 from the field, 1 for 14 from the field, and you still go into overtime against a top 10 team in the country on their home court, in their home gym, that tells you everything you need to know about just how scary and how dominant that Illinois basketball team. They're not to be messed with. They're a team I will be picking in a lot of brackets as long as as long as their matchups aren't anything too crazy when it comes March. They are a very, very good basketball team. The 2 Croatian twins that can shoot the piss out of the ball. Wagler's obviously a stud, and if Stojakovic is hitting a 3, then they don't lose games. So it's just they're a really, really good team, and I'm more impressed. I would feel more threatened by them because they lost to Michigan State than if I feel more threatened by them after a loss than I do if they were to win. Obviously, I'd feel. What am I trying to say here? I'm not. I'm not less confident in them because they lost to Michigan State, is my point. Because they lost when Wagler was 1 for 15 from the field. That's fucking ridiculous. And the way they lost, too, it's not like they got ran out of the gym. And they were winning in that game, too. So, yeah, they're a really good squad. What else happened today? Florida, Texas A&M didn't catch a second of it. Barely caught any of Texas, Tennessee, Kentucky. I was working tonight. But I did have UNC Duke on the TV at work. So I was pretty fucking locked in there. What games did I watch before I went to work today? I watched Villanova. I bet on Villanova. Villanova shoots the 3 very well. They shoot a fuck ton of them too. Villanova's a good squad. I think they're the 3rd best team in the Big East.